Right. So Chaucer is 14th century, of course, and very much a high cultural phenomenon, if you can divide between high and popular culture um, in medieval times. But we have to talk about the 15th century now. And the 15th century still very medieval in England, whereas in Italy the Renaissance is already in full swing. There is not much worthwhile talking about in the 15th century because, I mean, it was a time which was very much dominated by the War of the Roses. However, there's one cultural manifestations I would like to talk about because it has some influence on modern culture, particularly medievalists, and this is the so-called mystery plays. 15th century, predominantly 15th century. This is by the people for the people. So to say, stories of the Bible produced on stage. And there are very, very many stories in the Bible, and here are a few of them which were very, very popular in those days. Adam and Eve, Noah, for example, Cain and Abel, various nativity plays here with the shepherds and the angel appearing, and the child in the manger, and so on. The Last Judgment, the Last Supper, you have it. Okay, the so-called mystery plays, sometimes called miracle plays. And predominantly a 15th century thing in English towns and cities. And those plays were performed by the guilds. And the Catholic Church had very little to do with that. I mean, mostly those plays or those performances were frowned upon by the Catholic Church. Nevertheless, I mean, the guilds of craftsmen in those days performed a play each or something like that. And those plays were very often associated with a particular skill of the guilds, which means Adam and Eve, for example, very much taking place in paradise, the guilds of the gardeners would be in charge, performing that and having the stage set up and these things. The same is true of Noah's flood. Since there was a ship being built, take the carpenters or the shipwrights or something like that who perform that. Then a nativity plays performed by the shepherds and so on. That there is a certain correspondence between the guild performing the play and the theme or the subject matter of the play itself. In England, we have 4 cycles of these plays. A cycle means, a cycle containing something like 20 stories of the Bible, which were consecutively performed. Okay, the most famous ones are those. You should know those two: Chester and Wakefield. The so-called Chester cycle and the Wakefield cycle. 2 complete cycles of plays performed in the 15th century, and which came down to us. We know that many towns and cities had that, but those, of course, they have survived in manuscript, of course. Chester and Wakefield. The thing is, how were they produced? In England, predominantly on pageant wagons, which means you have a wagon and you have a scaffold stage built on it, and there's even a dressing room in this. And those wagons were moved through the town, which means that not the audience changed places, going from one play to the other. They remained where they were, and a new play came to them on a pageant wagon. Okay, and this is the way we imagine them today. A very narrow street in some English town, and you have this pageant wagon there, and you see stage on top of that, people gathering around it, and watching it. Please, those were no solemn occasions, not at all. And we know, and you will see that in a minute, I mean, people interact with the players on stage. They laugh. There's a lot of beating up, a lot of hanging, blood. Of course, those stories from the Bible, particularly from the Old Testament, they are gory. People love that, and we know we have records that there were rows during those plays. People got drunk. Beat each other up, and fist fights and all these things. So very much a low cultural thing if you have that in medieval times, okay? Performed, of course, mostly on the longest day of the year. Okay, you don't have artificial light, so sometimes 21st of June, something like that, okay? And please, yeah, nothing like Chaucerian literature where somebody sits there and reads to a few friends the story of the Canterbury Tales. No, it's a public occasion where they deal with public themes, and where they predominantly, I don't know, have fun. Those people, I mean, this is what these plays are about. How long did they last? I mean, we know Elizabeth prohibited them, those mystery plays later on. It has to do with the Reformation because, I mean, those mystery plays associated with Catholicism, and there was always the fear of something like Catholic subversion through the mystery plays. I mean, so yes, under Elizabeth, they were prohibited. Shakespeare, we know, must have watched some of them still in his youth, because, I mean, we have allusions to the mystery plays in Hamlet and a few other plays, okay? But just about, I mean, the time in the 1560s, 70s, Elizabeth put an end to the mystery plays. I would like to talk about one mystery place, because here you see that it is very much associated with things of popular culture, that it is not a solemn occasion. It's Noah's flood, and what you see here is particularly the story between Noah and his wife, the battle of the sexes, we may call this, where they beat each other up on stage. Yes, people love that. We know this. And we have a lot of plays, I mean, I don't know, not in this excerpt, where Mrs. Noah directly addresses the other women, for example, in the audience, and say, if you had a husband like that, what would you do? Who doesn't work, who doesn't do anything. Yeah? And there you see that they tackle themes that were very much disseminating popular culture. Okay, Noah is just coming back from his rendezvous with God, who told him to build an ark. And he says, Lord, homeward will I hast, as fast as he may, my wife will he frast, what she will say, and e'er me gast that we get some fray betwixt us both, for she is full tetchy, full little of angry, if anything wrong be, soon is she wrath. So he says to God, I mean, I will go home now and will tell my wife what you just told me, that I have to build an ark, but I'm very much afraid that we get into quarrel, because she is... she starts very easily. She's easy to anger if anything is wrong. So I'm a bit afraid of my wife. And you see this, already very, very popular culture. He goes home to his wife, meets her and said, God speed it there to weave, how fair. He says, how are you? I mean, I'm just back. I mean, God speed you. How are you doing? And then this is Noah's wife. Nu as ever nicht I thrief, the wars I thee say, to tell me believe, where hast thou long be, today the may we drive, or little for they for want. When we sweat or swing, thou dost, but thou think, yet of meat and drink have we very scant. And we know, okay, what she says is clear. I'm how are you doing? I'm the worst when I see you, she says. And we will certainly die for want, for lack of food, because you pray all day and you never do any work. And she says, when we sweat and swink is a medieval word for working, you do what you think, okay, and we don't have anything, meat and drink, we have a scarcity there. We don't have anything to eat and drink because you're only interested in your religion. It's clear the quarrel is now building up. And then she says, we women may weary al il husbands. And there you see, she directly addresses the audience and say, I mean, we women, girls in the audience, yeah, we have to curse all bad husbands, and Noah is one of them. Okay. And then, of course, the quarrel ensues and it gets physical. I shall smite and smile and quit him his maid. And she says, I will now, very performative, I will now slap his face and smile and quit him, pay him back. Then there is 4 letter words. We hold the tongue ramskit. He really says ram shit to his wife, or I shall thee still, or I shall smite thee, and of course make thee quiet. By my thrift, if thou smite, I shall turn thee until. She said, I may quit you. If you smite me, I will pay you back. Yeah. We shall say as Tita, have at thee gill upon the born shall it beat. And now they really beat each other up. We can try it right now, it says. Here, Jill, have it. Up your bone and it shall bite. Okay. Certainly, I mean, the audience laughed their heads off. So on stage, Noah and his wife beating each other up. And here, so Mary, thou smitest ill, she said, oh, wow, that was it? Don't feel anything. Thou smites ill, but I suppose I shall not in the debt fleet, and of this flat take thee there a langet to tee up thy horse. Okay, tie up your trousers, some of this, because you will now, the implication is clear, you will now shit in your pants. I mean, that's what she basically says, because I will now give it back to you. And Noah then, wilt thou marry? That is mine. Thou shalt thrive for twar. I swear be God as Pina, and I shall quit thee though in faith or Venus. So now they said, if you give me 2, I give you 3, and so on. And we will set this thing right straight away. Okay. There you see, I mean, this is the mystery plays. I just wanted to include them because this is, if we are thinking popular culture, medieval times, it's that. You say, although the Wakefield Master was a good poet, it's still very crude, predominantly, but it's well written, okay. But the thing is, I mean, this beating up each other on stage, which is of course apocryphal, it's not part of the Bible. People love that. And there you see the battle of the sexes, and the sort of humor which is very much in there is of a very low kind. It's literature, plays, popular culture, for the populace. And certainly the educated classes didn't want to have anything to do with it, probably watching from a window or something. Okay? All right, so mystery plays we should not underestimate those. Great fun. Stage today. This is why I'm doing it. A lot of people are very fond of those and do stage them today. And yes, please, I did with my students. So be my guest. All right. Okay.